Hola Mario,
Hola, ¿dónde está?
estoy en mi casa, pero no puedo usar la computadora porque la tengo puesta para que estoy trabajando.
Okay, all right.
Me tienes que perdonar.
Perdonado está.
¿Cómo estás?
Okay. Ah,
Todas las locuras que están pasando en el mundo, amigo.
eh,
Ay, Dios.
mm, ¿Ya está conectado con el teléfono ahora?
Sí, porque tengo la computadora, la estoy usando para terminar notas con el hospital.
Okay. Pues está bien claro con el teléfono.
Sí, es bien fácil.
Ujú. No, pero la imagen está bien clara.
Sí, ahorita estoy iluminado, como dicen.
Ujú.
Ay, tuve que salir, entonces ahorita me estás agarrando comiendo. Entonces estoy oyendo y estoy comiendo al mismo tiempo.
You're multitasking.
No me gusta. Prefiero hacer una cosa. Pero bueno, hacemos lo que tenemos, ¿verdad?
Hoy el plato es bastante largo.
Ujú. Así es.
¿Y dónde está
El señor Ernie, no sé,
el doctor Rabino?
doctor Rabino, nos tiene pensando.
Ahora, ya dijo que va a ser Aliyah. So, Ernie, when are you doing, are you, your Aliyah?
God willing, January of next year.
Oh, oh, that's fast. It's a year.
It's a year, right? That's
No,
why.
less than a year.
Yeah,
11 months.
11, God willing.
Hmm.
I'm gonna try to keep my schedule of shiurim going. I mean, it's
That's why I was talking with George. What are we going to do?
the same thing. Same thing, you know. Um, I'll probably, we'll just have to do it. We might have to do it uh, later.
Yeah.
Like, again, we'll have to discuss either 8 p.m. or 9 p.m.
Yeah, yeah.
8 p.m. Let me see.
That's 6 in the morning for you.
No, let me see.
Yes.
Yeah. 6, because you're behind me. Right. So I was doing it at 7 a.m. But I
Mhm.
have to do what time I go to Minion. So we'll have to see. Uh, some of the stumps we might do at 6 a.m. Some I'll do at 7 a.m. We'll see.
Mhm.
Well, that's not for now.
Okay. Lamed, right?
Lamed, correct, 30. So there was another Baraisa, Idich, the Amarav, Hakos of Sefer Torah, Baligmor. You're finishing a Sefer Torah, Goimer Vafilu Bam Tzadaf. You don't have to sort of write it larger so that the end has to be at the end of a column. You could keep your regular size and it could end in half the column. But Meisvei, a koisav sefer Torah, bala likmor lo yigmor be'emtza hadaf. You can't finish in the middle of a column, like you do, like at the end of Sefer Bracious or the end of Sefer Shmos. There, you'll see it'll finish in the middle of a column. But the end of the Torah cannot do so, it has to finish at the end. Ella, mekatzer v'olech ad sof hadaf. You have to sort of change you have to, make either the column not as wide, but you have to make it so that it ends up at the bottom. So how is one Barais of Rav different? Kikomer Rav b'chumashim. He was referring to the other four ends, Breishis, Shmos, Vayikra Bamidbar, not Devar. For anything more, I say for Torah, come. How can you say it's talking about Chumashim, says Sefer Torah? He means b'chumashim, so Sefer Torah. The Gemara says, "Any, it's not so." V'amarav Yehoshua barav Amarav Gidel Amarav le'enei kol Yisrael be'emtza daf. That the last words of the Torah le'enei kol Yisrael could be in the middle of the column. So the Gemara says, "Ahi be'emtza shita itmar," means it doesn't. Don't have to finish the line. It has to be at the bottom, but it could be in the middle of the line. That's it. And Chanami, I'm a Balkor. If you look at the end of the Sefer Torah, it's always in the middle of the line there. Rabbanan Amri Af Be'emtza Shita. That's right, you can finish in the middle of the line. Rav Asher Be'emtza Shita Dafka. You have to do it that way. Ve'ilchasa Be'emtza Shita Dafka. Amrav Yeshua Barav Amarav Gidel Amarav. Famous Chazal. Shmona Psukim Shabbator Yochid Korav Sabeis HaKnesses. The last 8 psukim, you cannot stop in the middle of those and give another aliyah. One person has to have that whole aliyah. And we do that because the Chassan Torah is the last aliyah. It includes that section. Kiman deloik Reb Shimon. This is not like Reb Shimon, the Tanya. In the sentence before the last 8, it says Vayama Shamo. No, the first sentence of the last 8 psukim starts Vayamat Sham Moshe Eved Hashem. Moshe died. Efshar Moshe Chai v'Kotzav Vayamat Sham Moshe. Because normally Hashem dictated the Torah to Moshe and he wrote it down. So how can he dictate this if he's dead? Elad Kan Kotzav Moshe. So this Tanakama is controversial. Moshe Rabbeinu wrote until that pasuk. Mikan Velach Kotzav Yoshua ben Nun. And Yoshua wrote the last 8 psukim. Div Rabbi Yehuda v'Amila Rav Nechemia. Amar Rabbi Shimon. After Sefer Torah Chaser Achas, Sefer Torah Os Chaser Os Achas. Moshe, it says Torah's Moshe. Moshe's Torah has to be complete. Uksiv La'koach Sefer Torah as if it's Samtem also. Moshe was told, take the Sefer Torah and put it in the Aron. Elad Kan HaKadosh Baruch Hu Omer Umoshe Kosef. Up until the last 8 psukim, the whole Torah was written with Hashem dictating and Moshe writing. Mikan Velach HaKadosh Baruch Hu Omer Umoshe Kosef Bedema. The last 8, Moshe wrote with tears. Either he wrote it with ink and he was just crying, and because he was crying, he couldn't recite them. And others say instead of ink, it was written with tears. Baruch mipiv yikrai lais kol v'ma'ela, v'ani kosev alasora ala sefer bidyo. Baruch ben Neriah was Yirmiyahu Hanavi's sofer. And he says Yirmiyahu dictated everything to him, and he wrote it down with ink. So Lema deloik Reb Shimon. So are you telling me that Rav, who said that you can't split up that aliyah, is not holding like Reb Shimon? Afilu tem Reb Shimon. You could say that halacha was said in the name of Reb Shimon too. Hoil v'ishtani ishtani. Once they're written somewhat differently, because it was written b'dema, so they have a different rule that you can't split up that aliyah. Am Yeshua barav Rav Gidel Amarav. Halokech Sefer Torah Menashuk. You have a mitzvah to write a Sefer Torah, but if you buy a Sefer Torah, kechoytev mitzvah Menashuk, you grab the mitzvah. Kosv Mala Kosuv Ki'ilu Kiblu Mar Sinai. If you write a Sefer Torah, it's as if you received the Sefer Torah from Har Sinai. Amrav Sheishes, Imigia Filo Os Achas Mala Kosuv Kilu Ksovo. if you correct even one letter in a Sefer Torah, it's as if you wrote it. That's why when we go and write a letter in a Sefer Torah, it's as if we became the mitzvah of writing a Sefer Torah. Simin Samech Gimel Lamed Mem Ton Rabban. Oisa Odem Uriah. Right, when we do Hagbo, you see that the Torah is made up of multiple sheets that are sewed together. Now, one of those sheets, Uriah, is Mibar Sholosh Dapim Vadbar Shmona Dapim. The smallest sheet can have 3 columns. The largest can have 8 columns. Either Pachos Mikon V'Yasr Kein Lo Yaseh. You cannot make a sheet that is either less than 3 or more than 8. The Lo Yarbe B'Dapim Neishaneres Yigeres. You shouldn't try to put too many columns in one of those sheets. It looks not like a book, but like a letter. You cannot make them too wide because the reader, it's hard for him to keep up with the sentences. So the standard is Kagon Mishpachos Seichem Sholosh Pamim. Mishpachos Seichem has 10 letters. You're supposed to have at least 30 letters. That's how wide a column should be. These Damnan Lo Yuris Bastesha Dapim. Now, we've already said the rule that one of these sheets should not have more than 8 columns. What if it looks like it's going to be 9? Lo yachluk shalosh lakan v'sheish lakan. You shouldn't make 3 on one and 6 on the other. Ela arba lakan v'chamish lakan. B'medvar memorim b'tchilas hasefer. That's my night making it too wide or too narrow. That's the beginning of a sefer. Of the sofa sefer, at the end, afilu posach echad afilu daf echad. One of the sheets can have even one pasuk and one column. So pasuk echad saket. How could you write one pasuk on a column? Lema pasuk echad b'daf echad. That means one pasuk to fill up one column. How big should this be? Shir Gilyon. Above the writing, milmato tefach. At the bottom of each column, at least a tefach. Milmala shalosh etzbos. At the top, there should be space 3 finger breadths. Bein daf l'daf k'mol revach shtei etzbos. Between columns, 2 finger breadths. Uvechumashim. If you're not writing as part of the Sefer Torah, milmata shalosh etzbos. At the bottom, the margin was 3 fingers. Milmala shtei etzbos. Uvein daf l'daf k'mol revach gudel. A thumb width between the columns. Uvein shita l'shita k'mol shita. What's the space between one line and the line below it? The width of a line. Uvein teva l'teva k'mol os ktana. The space between words, the space of a small letter, which is a yud. Ubein os laos, the space between letters, k'molech chutasar, like a hair's breadth, but they shouldn't be touching. Al yimait adam esaksav, you shouldn't write it too small. Lo mipnei revach shalmata, because of, for example, you're running out of space on the bottom. Lo mipnei revach shalmalav, lo mipnei revach shebein shita l'shita, or because the space between the lines of Lo mipnei revach shebein parsha l'parsha, or let's say between one stuma and a psucha are separations between parshas. If at the end of a line, you have a word of 5 letters, don't write two within the column and 3 in the margin. The opposite. You can write 2 letters outside of the margin. Yes, Mark?
What is the size of a line? Is it the height?
Yes, the height. The height.
So some guys wrote the letters bigger than others, no or no?
No. We say the space between the lines.
Yes.
No, but we said you got to get 10 letters within a column. It's got to be
Yes.
30 letters. 3
Okay.
times 10, 30 letters.
Yeah.
Right now we haven't been given parameters of. I mean, basically
Oh,
we're learning if it's very, it could be thick, but there's a Masorah that it's got to be. It's not too. It's not, each line is small.
yeah.
The space and then the line. We'll see in a minute how many. There's a Masorah. How many lines went on each column,
Okay. All right.
and that will tell you how
Mhm.
thick they made those lines. Nizdano l'tevos b'shtei osios. If he has a word made up of 2 letters like L, lo yizrken ben adapim. This should not be put in the margins. You write that 2-letter word at the beginning of the next line. What if you forgot the name of Hashem? Ator b'shem. Gorer is mashakosov. You erase. You wrote another word there. You erase it. V'tol is mashagorer. You write Hashem in that spot where you erased, and the word that you had erased, you put above, in the space above. Kosov is Hashem al makom agrar. Div Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yosef Avtol is Hashem. You don't have to erase anything. You just write Hashem's name right above, in the space above the line. Rav Yitzchak Omer Af Moichek v'Koisef. You can erase what you wrote and write the name of Hashem. Rav Shimon Shizuri Omer Kol Hashem Kulo Tolen. You can suspend the name of Hashem above the line, but not the part of the name. Mikzoso Ein Tolen. Rav Shimon Elazar Rav Shimon Rav Meir. Ein Koisfen es Hashem Lo HaMakom Agrar. You don't write it where you erase the previous word. V'lo HaMakom HaMachak, not where you blotted it. Vein Tolen, so you don't suspend it. You remove that whole column and you bury it. Itmar. Rav Chanan Alamarav Halacha Toilin Hashem. You can write the name of Hashem in the space above the line. Rav Chanan Rav Yitzchak Halacha Moichik v'Koisef. No, you blot and you write the name on the blot. Lema Mar Halacha Kamar Mar Halacha Kamar. Why did you have to actually? Why couldn't you just say Halacha like Rav? Why do you have to mention their Halacha? Mishum da'afchalu. There were people who reversed those shitas. Am Rav Barchina, Am Rav Rav Chanina. Halacha Rav Shimon Shizuri. Who said you can suspend the entire name. The Lord al Komokam Shashon Rav Shimon Shizuri halacha kamoso. Whenever you have someone teaching Shishim ben Shizuri, the halacha follows like that. So ayo on what halacha? Ilema aha. Are you talking about here? Rav Shimon Shizuri Amar Kol Hashem Kulo Tolin. Mikzoso Ein Tolin. That was his halacha. V'ha'itmar alan, you paskin already. Amar Rav Chanan Amar Rav, halacha Tolin is Hashem. Rav Chanan Rav Yitzchak B'Shmuel, halacha Moichek v'Koisef. V'misa hu nami lema. So Rav Chanan also should have said that the halacha is like Rav Shimon Shizuri if he gave us this rule. Rather, ele aha. It goes on the other opinion. Rav Shimon Shizuri oimer. Afilu ben chomesh shanim v'chorish b'sadeh. So, if you shecht a pregnant cow, the din is you don't have to shecht the fetus that's inside. There's a machlokas we're going to learn in Chulin, depends how old it is, etc. But according to this opinion, even if the animal's 5 years old, walking around, you can eat it without shechita. So the im isahu nami lema. So why doesn't it just say the halacha is like Rav Shimon Shizuri? Aha. Rishuna you oimrim hayoytze bekuler. Somebody was convicted of a death penalty and he's going out in chains to be executed. The Amar kisru get liishti. and he gives an instruction to somebody, write a get for my wife, because he doesn't want his wife to fall to Yibum. Hare elu yichtavu v'yitnu. Normally you have to say kisvu utnu. You have to say write it and give it. But he didn't say give it. However, in this extenuating circumstance, you write it and you can give it. But and chazru lomer afam afarsh vayotz b'shayara. Somebody's going to go out on a caravan or out on a boat. If he says the same thing, Rav Shimon Shazir Oimer, afam mesukin, even somebody who's sick. Inami aha. Other people say trumas meiser shel demai shechazru limkoma. Right? You have demai, which is a suffix whether the Amoritz gave trumas meiser. So the trumas meiser of demai, it went back to its place. Rav Shimon Shaziri Oimer, af b'chol sholo v'ochlav al piv. You can ask who sold it to you whether he gave trumas and meisers, and you can believe him. I vayit marlam Rav Yech halachik Rav Shimon Shaziri b'mesukan of a trumas meiser shel demai. The halachas like him regarding a sick person who gives a command to give a get, and regarding the trumas meiser, v'im isu nami lema. Rav Chanina. Rav Bar Chanina should have said the same thing. Ela aha. Rabbi Yossi ben Kippur oimer mishum Rav Shimon Shazuri. Pula mitzri shazor lezera. Pula mitzri is Egyptian beans. And you planted it. Mikzaso ishri lifnei Rosh Hashanah. Part of it rooted before Rosh Hashanah. Mikzaso achar Rosh Hashanah. Ein tormin mizel zeh. You can't separate truma from stuff before Rosh Hashanah for after Rosh Hashanah. You can't give trumas meisers from chodesh to yoshan. You pile all the wheat into the middle of this granary. When you give trumas meisers, you do it from the same season. Because you mix them all together, so they're all thoroughly mixed. So that we know the same amount will be given for both Chodesh and Yoshan. However, Ha'itmar Alon Rav Shmuel Bar Nachman and Rav Yochanan, Halach Rav Shimon Shazuri, V'misa hu nami lema, Rav Chanina, Rav and Bar Chanina, in the name of Ula, should say the same thing. El Am Rav Papa Asheda. This is a carriage. And Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak Omer Ayayin, on the case of wine. And Rav Papa is going to give us these cases, and we'll learn that tomorrow. Tomorrow,
Okay.
7 o'clock.
Right.